We know he wasn't really running the country.
Knowing what you know now, do you wish like you had a third term? You know what, if I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony, I'd be fine with that.
We used to think he was actually running the country, and now they're like, no, he didn't even see those executive orders. That was all auto.
It's the art of deflection coming from former President Obama, as well as his friends who are still in Congress today, and Senator Warner and Congressman Jim Himes, really all basically saying that exact same statement, which doesn't actually address the issue that was revealed in great detail in the over 100 documents that we released last week, in the documents that we will be releasing later this week, that point to the undeniable fact that you laid out in your introduction to this segment, is that the intelligence community had one assessment, that Russia did not have the intent or capability to try to impact the outcome of the U.S. election leading up to election.
Barack Obama's polished legacy, meticulously shaped and media protected, never saw the storm coming. Then entered Joe Rogan and Tulsi Gabbard, armed not with decorum, but with truth sharpened to a blade. They didn't just challenge the narrative, they dismantled it. With piercing commentary and fearless precision, they sliced through the carefully stitched seams of political theater, exposing contradictions, chaos, and the uncomfortable truths lurking beneath Obama's charm. No script was safe, no illusion left standing. This wasn't a discussion, it was an intellectual brawl. And if truth could throw punches, this was the one that sent shockwaves through the mythos of modern leadership.
No. He gets a glass of Flint tap water, and I swear to God, he drinks it like this. Flushes.
Can I get some water? I really did need a glass of water. This is not a stunt.
Usually when something isn't a stunt, you have to say
it's
that.
100% a stunt. When was the last time a president stopped a speech to ask, can I get a glass of water? They would never do that. They would have water ready.
Wall Street gave a standing ovation when Obama took the stage, and by the time his presidency ended, they were boarding private jets to the Cayman Islands, champagne in hand. The man who campaigned as a crusader against corruption somehow moved his way into becoming the smooth-talking confidant of the financial elite. Suddenly, the supposed reformer was dishing out regulatory backrubs. So gentle, lobbyists were writing love sonnets. Billionaires didn't just survive, they flourished under his watch. And Joe Rogan didn't need a crystal ball to see it. Just one look at the financial feast Obama presided over, and he asked the question everyone was too polite to voice. How does a community organizer become the CEO of the donor class in just 8 years?
A lot of what they campaigned on, they don't practice at all. Great example is the Obama administration. The Hope and Change website had to be changed because there was a bunch of stuff in there about whistleblowers.
No, I don't think Mr. Snowden was a patriot. I called for a thorough review of our surveillance operations before Mr. Snowden made these leaks. My preference would have been for a lawful, orderly examination of these laws.
Protecting whistleblowers, which they didn't do at all. It was one of the worst administrations for.
I first joined the Democratic Party over 20 years ago. I was 21 years old, and what I saw back then was a party that still stood for free speech. That was a big open tent party that welcomed people with different ideas, different backgrounds, different religions, that stood up for civil liberties, that fought for everyday Americans. It's a party of the little guy. Fast forward to where we are today, that party is completely unrecognizable.
Tulsi Gabbard wasn't just critical, she was surgical, with a smirk and the precision of a political scalpel. She carved through the glossy facade of hope and change, exposing what lay beneath. She took aim at the drone-happy Nobel Peace Prize winner who spoke of transparency while treating whistleblowers like trespassers on a private golf course. Unwelcome, inconvenient, disposable. The irony, a president who lectured the world on openness while his administration quietly disappeared. Journalists ducked hard questions like they were incoming missiles. Obama spoke of light, but governed like it was poison. When transparency was needed most, he recoiled like Dracula at high noon. Sunlight wasn't a remedy in his playbook. It was a threat to the illusion he built so carefully.
I left the Democratic Party because it is led by an elitist cabal of woke warmongers. They are driven by an insatiable greed for power, and they are willing to do whatever they deem is necessary, even the destruction of our freedom, to get what they want and to stay in power. This is the challenge and the threat.
He didn't just lead, he directed. Obama turned presidential optics into a Hollywood saga, gliding down White House corridors like a Nike model in a Super Bowl ad. The backdrop, Drone strikes launched with the casual ease of a video game, where real lives blurred into pixels. Wedding celebrations, funeral gatherings, none were off limits to the cold precision of American foreign policy, delivered with all the grace of a surprise party gone nuclear. One silent command, one blinding flash, and an oops, dressed up in diplomatic jargon, the aftermath, a press release so cryptic it could have been dictated by a magic 8-ball. Reply hazy, try again.
Tulsi Gabbard explained what most Americans are thinking.
Vast majority of the Democrat elite in Washington, in politics and the media, still can't figure out why President Trump has the support that he has, and that no matter what they're throwing at him, it continues to grow, which just is a reflection of how completely out of touch they are with the people. They continue, as they did in 2016, they continue to see the American people as stupid.
Joe Rogan looked ready to blow a fuse, and, honestly, who could blame him? Here was a president who seemed more focused on crafting the perfect Spotify playlist than facing the fallout of turning entire regions of the Middle East into a smoldering sandbox of shattered trust. Obama spoke the language of peace, but his actions came with payloads. He promised diplomacy, then let drones do the talking. He sold hope, but delivered hashtags. He vowed to end war, then extended it like a Netflix free trial nobody remembered signing up for, but everyone kept getting billed for.
People age the hardest. I think Obama was probably like a very idealistic young man
Oh, Lord, what's going on now? Who's hollering? I can't even see it.
who really wanted to change the world. And that dude aged more than anybody.
I mean, I'm getting old, so I can't hear that well. I can't see that good.
Who aged the least? Trump. Trump just
This is something that
he just brushed that shit off his shoulders like it was.
Chelsea, ever the realist, stood by and watched as the man once hailed as a symbol of peace started flirting with global conflict like it was a summer romance gone reckless. Libya, that became an open-air market of chaos where, a failed state, Buffett served up an appetizer of civil collapse and a main course of human trafficking, making an ugly comeback. Syria, a deadly game of rebel roulette, where U.S. weapons somehow kept ending up in the hands of militants who thought democracy was a wedding DJ they'd already blown to pieces. And Iraq, Obama claimed he wrapped that war up, then quietly left behind just enough troops to roll out the sequel that Iraq Awakens, featuring ISIS as the breakout star. And don't even mention healthcare unless you want to see Joe Rogan's forehead veins go DEFCON 1. Obama's affordable health plan had Americans launching GoFundMe campaigns just to cover allergy meds and paper cuts. Then he strutted out like he'd just solved world peace with a PowerPoint. Tulsi could only shake her head, watching his legacy treated like a sacred artifact in a political shrine. Meanwhile, real people were tangled in miles of bureaucratic spaghetti trying to get a checkup. It was sold like the iPhone, sleek, modern, revolutionary, until users realized it came without a charger, no headphone jack, and exploded on contact with reality.
There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though.
But nothing dripped with irony quite like Obama's stance on race. Here was a man uniquely positioned to lead a real reckoning on systemic injustice, and, instead, we got poetic podium performances and hashtag diplomacy. When Ferguson exploded in outrage, he responded with a carefully worded lecture fit for a TED Talk. When Baltimore went up in flames, he offered the country a Spotify playlist instead of sweeping police reform. No bold legislation, no overhaul of broken institutions, just polished speeches that made people feel seen for a moment before reality hit them like a baton. Joe Rogan was practically glitching out as he rattled off each missed opportunity, each moment where symbolism replaced substance. And when the conversation turned to whistleblowers, that's when Obama ditched the professor persona and went full dark arts. Edward Snowden became public enemy number one. Chelsea Manning was punished like she had taken down the Pentagon sink. Meanwhile, Tulsi looked like she was seconds from astral projecting out of frustration. Obama, the man who ran on exposing corruption, ended up sealing the vault, triple locking it, and slapping a top secret sticker on it like it was some twisted presidential party trick.
They gave that speech when he gave a speech on television, and everybody was like, this. And then they were, it kind of just went away.
It was one of the most beautiful moments in modern American history. People really actually stood up and stopped a war from...
Even Joe had to crack a smile because nothing screams progressive leadership Quite like building a surveillance apparatus straight out of Orwell's Darkest Nightmares, while casually quoting Maya Angelou at press briefings. Under Obama, the NSA morphed into a digital stalker with the grace of a jackhammer hoarding phone calls, tracking texts, and probably archiving your 2014 memes under potential threats, especially if you made a joke about the TSA. For all his Ivy League charm and cool-headed charisma, Obama couldn't seem to manage a real economy unless you count billion-dollar bailouts and cigar-scented backroom deals as financial genius. Wall Street flourished, Main Street floundered, and the guy who promised to transcend party politics, he ended up fertilizing one of the most hyperpolarized landscapes in modern history. Disagreeing with the party line became a sin, and voicing skepticism got you branded Russian bot, racist, or whatever label fit the day's algorithm. It was unity, sure, but only the kind where everyone claps in sync, or risks getting digitally exiled for thinking out loud.
Said he was a jackass.
The young lady seems like a perfectly nice person. She's getting her award. What's he doing up there? He's a jack.
It's like, oh really? Well, you.
It was about the Taylor Swift thing.
No, all this stuff.
That guy's a jack. It wasn't even that harsh of an incident. And he said it privately, and I think somebody heard it. I don't think he said it to be public.
I'm assuming all this stuff. Where's the pool? Come on.
The media's love affair with Obama wasn't just admiration, it was a full-blown teenage infatuation, complete with hard eyes and diary entries. He was treated less like a world leader and more like a rock star president. Cozy interviews, softball questions, glowing op-eds, and endless late-night cameos turned his presidency into a PR map. While real issues quietly gathered dust in the background, the press erupted over his tan suit like it was a medical breakthrough. But Tulsi, she wasn't buying the hype. She saw past the carefully curated optics, the slow, deliberate cadence of his speeches, the cinematic backdrops, the perfectly rehearsed pauses meant to feel profound. To her, the Obama presidency felt more like a globally streamed TEDx talk, stellar lighting, polished delivery, but beneath it all, empty calories. With real-world consequences, was this a leader or a performer auditioning for a Grammy? And God forbid you criticized him. Do so, and you were instantly labeled ungrateful, ignorant, or too simplistic to grasp the nuance, which in Obama speak usually meant, please ignore my contradictions while I flash a Nobel-winning smile. But Tulsi had read the fine print. She'd seen the contradictions stacked high, like bombing 7 nations while accepting the Peace Prize, or bailing out Wall Street while preaching to the working class from a podium wrapped in empathy.
Terrible things that are happening in our country are happening because we have people in power who care more about themselves and their power than they do about the people, this country, our constitution, our democracy. They are setting this incredibly dangerous precedent that now, much like many banana republics in the world, whoever's in power has the ability to politicize and weaponize that power to go after their political opponent. Take away whatever people think about Trump or whatever.
Right.
The consequences and implications of what is actually happening and what so many of the Democrat elite are justifying in the name of protecting democracy is actually
The smooth-talking icon with a Nobel Peace Prize in one hand and a Wall Street donor list longer than a CVS receipt still commands an army of admirers mesmerized by that slow, deliberate cadence and polished delivery like it's a masterclass in political seduction. But Joe Rogan tore through that illusion like duct tape ripped off a hairy leg's to-doon. Painful and revealing. Because once the glow dimmed, what remained was a master of the political illusion, a man who said everything and promised change, yet left behind a blueprint for stagnation. And even after leaving office, he didn't bow out gracefully. No post-presidency humility, no quiet retreat. Obama re-emerged like a philosopher king haunting every major Democratic meltdown, offering poetic one-liners and lofty wisdom without ever owning the chaos he helped create. Tulsi raised an eyebrow each time he floated back into the spotlight, dispensing unity slogans like fortune cookies while standing on a beachfront estate that screams Bond villain, off-duty. Here was the man who helped fracture a nation, now preaching about healing as if he didn't spend 8 years planting the seeds of division, watered by polished speeches and Wall Street applause.
On stage, and he roasted Trump.
Donald Trump is here tonight.
And one of the lines he said to Trump, he said, I'm one thing that you'll never be, which is the president of the United States.
Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
And you could see Trump in his head going, okay, I'm going to run now. That one moment where Obama was talking shit to him might be the reason why Trump was like, I'll show you.
Joe Rogan nearly choked from laughter, and not the good kind, because nothing quite screams man of the people like buying a $12 million oceanfront estate, while lecturing the rest of us about rising sea levels and wealth inequality. It's the political version of a firefighter arriving at a 5-alarm blazonot with a hose, but a gas can and a TED Talk. He's not here to put out the flamesies. here to narrate them with dramatic flair and a well-lit backdrop. And every time the media lovingly replays those vintage Obama clips, those perfectly lit speeches, the tear-inducing pauses, it feels less like nostalgia and more like a gaslight parade, a highlight reel of illusion, crafted with buzzwords, photo ops, and messaging so tightly controlled it could give North Korean propagandists a standing ovation. Change. Our SVPD sent a pre-recorded message, then disappeared to Martha's Vineyard for cocktails. The movement that once promised to shake up the system ended up chilling on a yacht, wrapped in vineyard vines and legacy protection. Yet here he comes again, same knowing smirk, same iconic posture, as if the fallout was just a typo in an otherwise glowing memoir. The brand endures. The damage. That's just an aesthetic flaw in the narrative. Behind the polished speeches and standing ovations, the reality hits harder than ever. Obama's legacy isn't about hope, it's about how effortlessly hope can be packaged, branded, and sold to the highest bidder. And just when you think the final curtain has dropped on the Obama era, cue the spotlight. Somewhere, another keynote is being rehearsed. Another glossy memoir is rolling off the presses, and probably somewhere over a nation no one in Washington can locate on a map, a drone is circling on autopilot. The applause from his last self-congratulatory send-off still echoes in elite circles, while the rest of America is left coughing through the dust cloud of broken promises. What changed most wasn't the system, it was how expertly the status quo learned to smile while stabbing. Now, with his Netflix docuseries entering yet another season of cinematic self-admiration, the country's still waiting on that gift, hope left unopened, like a birthday present from a parent who never showed up. Behind the dazzling delivery was a man so meticulously rehearsed, he made ventriloquist dummies look like improv artists. And in walked Tulsi and Rogan, scissors in hand, cutting through the strings and exposing the entire performance for what it really was, an act.